And so I assumed I was looking for that, a partner, someone who would give as much as they would take. And my husband is that. Like, he's a clean person. He does the cleaning while I did the cooking. He's just so attentive to my needs, so empathetic, just like a kind, sweet person. And he is still a man raised under the patriarchy. That's one. And then he is still a partner who expects things from you. That is two. So I would say the two biggest things that caused me to end up asking for a divorce from my best friend and the love of my life were those.
This young lady, who, by the way, is 32, so not that young, 32 years old. She was a single mom prior to getting married. Her son is 12. And she talks for nearly almost 2 hours about why she divorced her husband, who was perfect, who she says is perfect. He is her perfect man, and she divorced him. And I want to talk about some things that I think we can learn from Bri. One of the things that Bri does is that she talks a lot about the patriarchy. She talks very negatively about the patriarchy. And so it's very clear that, I don't know if it's, she doesn't like men or whatever socialization she's had in her life, but it's very clear that Bri has some, animosity, some anger, some resentment, some uncomfortability around the role that men play in our society. And, it's so ironic because she was a stay-at-home mom and wife. Now, her son is not from her husband, but her husband, despite that being the case, her husband still allowed her to quit her corporate job so that she can stay home and be a full-time content creator while he went to work. He allows her to have this lifestyle. However, despite her having such a lifestyle that so many women dream of having, and in many ways benefiting from not having to get up and go into a competitive corporate office, Bri instead complains because she doesn't have enough time to work on her content. When her husband comes home, he wants attention. She wants to respond to comments in her comment section on TikTok, and she expresses some frustration about that. What I can say here, as a content creator myself, there were certain things that she said that I'm like, okay, I can understand where she's coming from as a creative. And so as a creative, I personally could be a complete recluse if I wanted to be. I'm also an introvert. So there's a lot of things, a lot of quirks sometimes that as people we have about our personalities. And when you're married, it does cause you to compromise in that way. So an example that Bri gave was that she would rather create, and her husband prefers to watch TV. Now, this is something I completely related to. Very similarly, I would personally rather create a video more than I would want to watch TV or a movie. And my husband would prefer to watch TV and or a movie. So a lot of times it just takes compromise. However, according to Bri, this is so incredibly frustrating to her that she believes that it needs, she believes that the demise of their marriage must come soon. And as I'm recording this video, Bri, according to what she said in a follow-up video, has already gone through with a divorce. So, and I want to say that I'm not making this video to completely pass judgment on her. People are allowed to make whatever decisions they want, but I do think that there are a lot of things in this story that people don't really talk about. And again, as a creative, I had to kind of pull myself away from saying how immature she was and that she needs to grow up. And think about, even when you grow up, there are still those things that you struggle with. Again, she mentioned she's an extrovert and her husband's an introvert. Those types of things. Everything I'm getting ready to say and what we're going to watch, all of that, in my opinion, falls under the category of some people are just not relationship material. And that is the learning lesson that I got from this, is that a lot of times we talk about somebody not being relationship material and no one ever really gives an example of what that looks like. We assume that that means that the person is cheating excessively, or the person is a liar or a thief, or, something like that. But not being relationship material comes in a lot of different forms. And I did listen to the entire video, I believe it was almost 2 hours. It was very long. I heard everything that Bri had to say, and the only thing I can do is categorize it all as, again, Bri and women like Bri and people like Bri are just not relationship material.
And he's an introvert and I'm an extrovert, which again was fine because, yeah, sure, as a younger person, I was, partying a lot and I had a lot of friends. So I had my friends over often. So going into married life, I knew all those things would like slow down, but I didn't know how that would impact me. Yeah. And so now I'm at this point, if you've been keeping up with the story, where I have no job, I have no car, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm cooking, I'm doing content creation, but I can't do it, all the time. I have to do it in a certain way. And then during my, the time after work, I'm I have to spend it watching TV. And then after dinner, I don't know. There was just and then after dinner, there was just something else. There was always something when you have someone in your life that is your person, your partner, your spouse. There is always the expectation that you are doing something with them, for them, or accommodating them in some way.
And again, it doesn't mean that they're incapable, but everything she said pointed to the fact that she really does not want to be in a relationship. Whoopi Goldberg, who I've talked about on this channel recently, maybe several videos back, you can go check out the video. Whoopi Goldberg had a lot to say on this topic. She, for the last many years, has been very candid about the fact that she has absolutely no interest in the work that goes into having a man, the work that goes into having a relationship. She has no desire and no interest to think about someone, to be considerate for someone else, to care for someone else, to make room and space in her life for someone else. And there are, I think, a lot of people who probably feel this way. And I don't always think that the culture allows for folks who feel like this to be honest. And so again, even though I was a bit judgmental toward Bri, I had to take a few steps back and say, well, at least she's being honest. At least she's not, continuing to lead her husband on. Although I do feel sorry for her husband because he was hoping to have a child with her. He sounds like he doesn't have any kids. She has a child from a previous relationship. I found myself feeling sorry for him. And I don't know him. I don't know what he looks like. She didn't show him on video. But again, I said, let me take a few steps back. And at least she didn't prolong this marriage for the next 5-10 years, stringing him along, leading him to believe that she was really invested. She admits that she's not interested in having any more children. And when I think, and again, we don't know for sure, but I speculate with Devon Franklin and Megan Good that could have been, people kind of speculate that with them, it could have been a situation where, Megan Good did not want to have a child with him for whatever reason. And I'm not saying she strung him along, but it's those types of things are critical. Like if you decide that you don't want to have any more kids and the person you're with wants a child, then those are things that could definitely end a marriage. But none of this is why the marriage ended. The marriage ended. Bri, again, she spearheaded the marriage ending because she said that, the things that she named were things that I think most people figure out how to work through. And because she's not willing and able to figure out how to work through these things, I can only conclude that Bri is just not relationship material.
And so, because I like listening to quality music very loudly. But when you live with someone, you can't do that. You can't just put on music as loud as you want to and just dance around your house nude, which is something I do enjoy doing, but I just can't do that with a husband, a person. Like you can, but you will always be being perceived. You will always, like, even if they don't judge, even if they don't, mind, even if like it doesn't bother them, the fact that I am playing this super loud music and dancing.
Bri is going to travel. Go figure. Bri is going to make more content. Sounds like she's a creative. That part I can relate to. Bri has also started a GoFundMe. She started a GoFundMe to help her in this new phase of life that she's in as a divorced woman. And there's another part about her giving up custody of her son to the father, which, I don't want to get into that, but Bri wants to be a free spirit. She describes marriage as slavery. And there's an underlying tone where I feel as though Bri doesn't really like men. And again, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, but in our society, I think that it's become normalized for a lot of women to just not like men, to constantly complain about the patriarchy that oftentimes they're benefiting from, to, it could be something as simple as a man holds the door open or, wants to help a woman with her bags, and she'll get offended because she'll assume that, well, what are you trying to say? You're trying to say I'm not capable of holding my own door open or carrying my own bags. And so Bri kind of, there's some stories that she tells in her video very similar to this. It had to do with a bike and all that, but it's just, you can tell that she interpreted her husband's care for her as like disrespect or some kind of patriarchal like issue or limitation, as opposed to looking at it as protection and provision. She looked at it as control.
That no matter what, no matter whom I'm with, I'm always going to have someone looking over my shoulder. I'm always going to have, if you have a partner, if you have a person who you are tied to in this romantic way, your options in life will always be stifled. They will always be limited. They will always be watched. They will always be judged. They will always be perceived. They will always be given an opinion for. And I realized that I want nothing more in life than to live my life with no one's opinions about it other than my own. I want to wake up when I want to without someone judging me for getting up late and calling me lazy. I want to not eat without someone thinking that I'm starving myself for some sort of weird reason. I want to do dangerous and reckless things without having someone at home that I have to worry about. Like, oh my God, what if you pass away? Like, if I want to put my life on the line, I want to be able to do that. If I want to say reckless things on the internet, I want to be able to do that without someone looking me up later and saying, oh, she's married to this person, and so let me harass this person. I want to be able to just move at my own pace. I want to move at my own pace. I want to do what I want. I want to be who I want to be. I want to shine as bright as I want to shine without the opinion of another. I want to be able to have dreams and not have, or goals, and not have someone question those goals unless I ask them for their opinion. But when you're married, if you have a goal, you have to run it by your partner. You cannot say, partner, one day I'm waking up and I'm going to law school. You have to run that by them first. And again, this is not about asking them for permission, but it is your responsibility as a partner to inform your partner of your life, of the things you are doing. That's the whole point. That is the whole point of having a long-term partner, is to share your life together. And I'm like, I realize I don't want to share my life. I don't want to share it with a husband. And then that made me realize I don't want to have another kid. I don't want to have another kid. And I just, cause I'm sitting here and I'm like, I know my husband is so helpful. He is like the most executive functioning person that I know. Again, as someone with ADHD, my executive functioning is crap. Like I'll have a bajillion and a bajillion excellent, amazing, fantastic ideas, and I can never get any of them done. But that man, if he has an idea and he wants to do it, he's getting it done. I just love that. And so when I think about having a kid and having a kid with him, I know that if I'm tired, he'll get up and he'll do the milk. I know that if I don't want to do stuff with the kid, he'll do. I know that he would pick up the slack wherever I faltered or wherever I felt like I couldn't.
Even in the comment section, there were a lot of women complaining, upset at Bri because, you know, their sentiment was, I can't even get a boyfriend. I can't even get a date. And you have a whole husband who you're saying is perfect, and you divorce this man. So that was interesting to see how even women, many other Black women in her comment section, were not necessarily, I mean, you know, they weren't necessarily co-signing what she was doing and what she's trying to do. You know, because you have to think how many women sit around and say, oh, I have the perfect man. You know, there's so many women who want a man. We're not even going to get to the perfect part. They just want a man. And so you have what you call a perfect man, and you are divorcing him. It's just wild.
He's kind, he's loving, he's funny. I'm just like, I'll watch TV. And that's the thing. I will watch TV with him every day for the rest of my life if that's what he wanted to do, because that's who I am. Is I am a loving, giving person, and I will give up my own comfort for the comfort of others. And I don't love that about myself. And I've been working on that, and I've worked on it so much, actually, to the point where I have just asked my husband for a divorce. Because I realized every day as he came home and I had to go cook, I used to love cooking, and it's just like, it's a chore now, but I would do it for his pleasure, not for my own.
And so I wrote a definition of not being relationship material. I know that sounds triggering probably to a lot of people, but this is my definition. I put that it is an inability or a lack of interest in the energy that it takes to be in a relationship with another person. So we all know that relationships take work, relationships take energy, even friendships. This is even outside of just being married, even having a friend, you know, to call that person a friend, there's a give and take, or there's an exchange happening there. And so essentially Bri does not like the energy and the time and the thought that goes into having a partner, having a man, being in a relationship, and being married. And the same would go with having kids, or even having pets. I mean, everything takes time. But again, I think if the time that it takes, the energy that it takes, if it's incredibly bothersome to a person, like it is to Whoopi Goldberg, who said literally she has absolutely no interest in anyone else's well-being outside of her daughter, and her grandkids. She named it. And so if a woman and if a person feels that way, then perhaps they are not relationship material. Now, it doesn't mean that they can never be relationship material, but it does mean that in this moment that they're making such a statement, that they're not. She views her husband as a monitoring spirit. She views her husband as kind of like always watching her, perhaps maybe judging to an extent. And what I'll say about that is there is that element in relationships where, yes, you are being perceived as you should be, unless you want to be with somebody who is completely emotionally unavailable and could care less about you. That is part of it. And there's a benefit to this. There's another side to it. So yes, there is a side that somebody is going to ask you, how are you? Are you okay? If they notice some behavior that's different or a pattern that's different, they're going to ask you about it. Those types of things are normal. The benefit is that, like, for me, I know I appreciate having someone to bounce ideas off of, a thought partner, perhaps a thought leader in my life. So it's not just that I'm being perceived and monitored and watched and scrutinized, but it's also that perception and monitoring, all that leads to this other person being able to use that data, use that information to figure out how they can help. So that's the part that she's not saying is, yes, when you're in a relationship, your partner is whatever you want to call it, if you want to say a monitoring spirit or what have you. But why are they monitoring? That is where the protection and the provision comes in, the problem solving. That's where it comes in. If they're not paying attention, if they're letting you do whatever you want to do, they're not saying nothing, they're not calling you out, they're not checking you at times. And right, this goes both ways. If they're not doing that, I would argue that they don't care. So a lot of what she was and is complaining about are actually things that men are supposed to do. And to a degree, people, if you're in a relationship with another person, no matter who it is, even if it's a friend, if it's a child, if it's a sibling, there's a level of that person paying attention. This, for Bri, is extremely triggering. She also talks about having ADHD. I don't know how much that plays into it, but for her, it's overwhelming. This idea that somebody is watching her and asking her questions about why she's doing certain things a certain way, she just can't handle it. And again, this is why I'm bringing forth this story to you, because I think there's so many things in her story that people can actually relate to. Even me, like I said, I can kind of relate to being a creative and not wanting to spend a lot of my time watching movies and watching television. However, I am not going to divorce my husband for that, so I can, further pursue content creation. Now, content creation is important to me, but am I willing to get a divorce because my husband wants me to watch too many shows or movies or whatever? No, I think those are things that can be worked out. So again, going back to why I think she's not relationship material and why I think that she is a good example of what it looks like to not be relationship material is her inability. Not only the inability to have the energy to deal with a partner, but also the fact that she is not willing and interested in working out those kinks, working through that. It doesn't seem like she wants to. She just wants to quit. Your partner, your husband, your wife, they have an ability to know you at a level that a lot of people don't. One, because they're probably with you more. You have a more intimate relationship. Perhaps the most intimate relationship you have is with your partner, again, your husband, your wife. And so because of that, there's a level of detail that often our spouses, again, our partners, can bring, a level of detail that they can help us in a very detailed way. Whereas with other people who may not be as close to us, often we have to explain what's going on, and there's so many layers until they can get to actually doing any level of problem solving. So this is something she's not thinking about, and I expect and I suspect that I think she may regret it. There's people who go their whole lives and never meet anyone, let alone anyone who's perfect, who they can say is perfect. And she met this person and discarded him. So I wish her well, but I won't be surprised if she regrets this decision. And it may be too late, because I would imagine he's going to move on very similar to Devon Franklin and how he moved on. He sounds like he wants to have a child and have children. Yeah, this is something that she's going to have to learn, is that although there are going to be things in a relationship that annoy you and bother you, and there's those things. We all have those quirks and things about us. But to discard the whole person, I don't know. I don't think that's a solution. Working through those quirks makes sense, but discarding the entire relationship and human being is another thing. I've been seeing videos like this. I don't know why the algorithm is serving me these videos, but there was another woman on the Dear Future Wifey podcast maybe a month ago or a couple months ago, who, she wasn't married, but she was engaged. And she also broke off her engagement. And she was also a content creator, as thanks to her fiance, who allowed her to stay home to pursue content creation full time. And she was annoyed that her fiance didn't spend enough time with her. Now, mind you, he didn't spend enough time with her probably because he was very busy working to provide for them both. But she broke off the engagement for that reason, because she just felt like they didn't have as much fun as they used to have. So there's seasons in marriage and in relationships, kind of go through some of those different ups and downs. That is what really makes a person relationship material. Honestly, that's one of the things, is having the ability when things get hard, not to just give up. Unless there's some, egregious thing, some abuse, or, obviously there's certain things where you should give up if there's something like that. But if it's just personality quirks and things like that, really, I don't believe in giving up for those reasons. But I do appreciate people, and in this case, women, Black women, being honest. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe. I do just want to quickly thank all of you for listening to me and all of my many topics. I'm running a few different series right now. This one is the covered series. There's also the Slim Thick series and the what is the other one? The Invisible Black Woman series. And so I just appreciate having a place to come and talk and get my ideas out and have folks listen and comment and like. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I was recently in conversation with someone who was super passionate about the Epstein files, and she talked to me for about 45 minutes about the Epstein files, and I was like, this is why you probably need to start a YouTube channel. And so I say all that to say I am a YouTube coach. So if you want to get started and grow on YouTube and become monetized, please do go into the description box and click the link to my website so you can check out my menu of services and what I have to offer. My business is called Curated Legacy LLC. I also have a book about being an invisible Black woman on Amazon, as well as I have a storefront on Amazon. In my store, there are products and items that I use consistently that I really like, that I swear by. So if you are interested in checking out some of the items that I value, please do click the link in the description box and go to my Amazon store. If you want to know how to support this channel, you can become a Black and Invisible channel member. The link for the channel membership is in the description box, as well as there should be a join button at the top of your screen. If you decide to become a channel member, it will come with perks and benefits, exclusive content being one, and there are some other things there. And so again, it's a great way to support me and to support the channel, and I would love to have you. I am on Instagram, so feel free to give me a follow over there. My name is Naka, and I am here to make the invisible visible about Black women. I highlight the things that Black women typically wouldn't tell you. And as always, stay tuned for more videos. Since you've been gone away, you've been gone away so long. I forgot your middle name, I forgot your birthday. You still wear cologne the same, love it in the worst way. You've been gone away. Since you've been gone away, you've been gone away. I forgot your middle name, I forgot your birthday, your favorite position. Do we still have chemistry? Yeah. Since you've been gone away so long. Said you needed space, said you needed more time to think, so you went away. But you still would stay in my dream. Now you're back for more. Why you in my reality? My hair closed the door, even though my heart just won't leave. That was then, can't go back. Hurt so bad, had to block out the memory. If we try again, start from scratch. You wanna pick up where we left off, but you've been gone away.